This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Introduction. For as long as I can remember, I have been fascinated by the concept of human beings willingly strapping themselves to the pointy end of a rocket to be blasted off into the vastness of space. This was the highest form of adventure, and on top of that, astronauts look so incredibly cool in their spacesuits. Just imagine being a little kid and watching the Apollo moonwalkers doing their thing on the lunar surface. They had a dune buggy and everything. I do not know that I fully comprehended exactly what it was that they were doing, that they were on the moon, of all places, exploring, conducting experiments, and looking like they were having the time of their lives. Best of all, it seemed that every other word they said was Houston. In my young mind, these spacemen were talking to me, because that was my last name. I was hooked, big time. There could be no greater job in the world than to be an honest-to-goodness superhero Buck Rogers astronaut. Sadly, NASA never had much use for overweight astronauts with not an ounce of technical or scientific ability. I always felt that I could have been used as ballast, if nothing else. Doug Hurley became an avid NASCAR fan when his cousin Nan married Greg Zipadelli, one of the sport's most prominent crew chiefs. I wrote a story on Doug's interest for NASCAR.com several years ago, and we kept in touch by email. During my tour of JSC, Doug and I spent some time on one of the 3 shuttle mock-ups in Building 9. He had to run back to his office while Debbie Vivi Nguyen, my NASA public affairs escort, took a call on her cell down on the mid-deck. Me, I was up on the flight deck, all by myself, for several glorious minutes. I could flip all the switches I wanted and twist any knob to which I could possibly get. I was not actually in microgravity, working the robotic arm as my crewmates scurried about outside servicing the Hubble Telescope, but in my mind's eye I was. I sat in the commander's seat, pushing the rudder pedals this way and that with my feet, and taking the control stick, as I imagined myself aiming for the runway to end another heroic shuttle mission. This was every space geek's dream, but the best was yet to come. One of my favorite quotes in this book came from Charles J. Camarda. Charlie was just shy of his 44th birthday when he was selected as an astronaut, my age now as I write this. When he flew for the first and only time on STS-114, he had worked at NASA as an engineer or astronaut for more than 30 years. He described his reaction to the launch almost exactly as I had always imagined mine would be. "You're going to have to ask Wendy Lawrence," he began. "She was sitting right next to me, and what Wendy Lawrence says is that I was just laughing and grabbing her hand and shaking her the whole time we were going up." Can you not just picture him, or better yet, yourself, on such a thrilling and dynamic ride? There, in the simulator that afternoon, I was about to get an inkling of what Charlie and Doug had experienced on their flights. We were flat on our backs, ready to rock and roll. "Once you hit T0, you're going someplace as soon as they light the boosters," Doug said over a comm loop that on DVD playback sounded just like we were actually on the launch pad, seconds away from lighting the candle. I could not wait, and asked where the clock was located. 28 seconds, Doug responded, pointing to the instrument panel. I let out a huge sigh, trying to contain my nervous anticipation. Knowing what I felt like then, I cannot begin to imagine what the actual moments before liftoff must have felt like. "At 10 seconds, the navigation system will initialize," Doug continued. "You'll see the gyro spin. Stand by for engines." There's the engine start. All around me, the cabin began to shake. 3 at 100%. This was really happening. And then the imaginary solid rocket boosters, SRBs, lit. There's T0. Here we go.